All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 brought to us by the official beer of the program, Johnny Cuba. You know that's how we're going to enjoy the Panthers tonight on the couch in the ZASLOW Mansion family room with an ice-cold Johnny in my hand. Pick up a six-pack of Johnny Cuba for yourself, your local Sedanos, Presidente, Winn-Dixie. Go to johnnycuba.us. You could use the Johnny locator and find out the nearest location for you to pick up a six-pack of your own. Make sure you always drink responsibly. Don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Joining us now is our pal, Dave Williamson. So Dave, yesterday, I'm making myself, I'm about to put some steaks on the grill. Now, for folks who don't know, Dave is way into grilling and all different kinds of meats. I've called him for advice on how to cook and how to grill. I'll show him pictures of the raw meat. I'll be like, what should I do with this? He's been very helpful. So yesterday, I'm putting the seasoning on the steaks before I put them on the grill, and I grabbed my Meet Dave rub from my closet. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't spoken to Dave in a while. I should send Dave a message, and we could shoot the shit. We could chop it up a little bit here. How you doing, Dave? Good to see you.
I'm good, man. I love it. I love that. Not only are you using my all-purpose seasoning and rub that people can buy at davewilliamson.com, but that it makes you think of me. That just makes my heart so happy.
It's a really good rub. I love it. I love every opportunity I have to use it. So everything came out great last night. Made some great skirt steaks for the family. We ate it all up, and you were a contributor to that.
And I'm so proud of you because just a couple of years ago, you told me you didn't know which steaks to buy for different scenarios, and you were intimidated going to the butcher shop, and you FaceTimed me a few times, and now look at you, man. You're throwing around things like skirt steak. I love it.
That's right.
Getting very specific cuts. I like it.
That's right. That's right.
There's a Denver cut now that's been real popular. I had a ribeye cap the other day that was insane. I got it from Colorado Craft Beef. A lot of good cuts out there now that you can acquire. It's not like when our parents went to the grocery store and all they could get was a strip or a ribeye or a T-bone. That was it,
Excellent. Yeah, no, Dave has helped me a lot. I do want to ask you. I want to talk to you. We'll do comedy stuff, of course. You're a Miami guy. You're a Miami sports fan. Are you dialed into the Florida Panthers? We have a huge one tonight. We got to win this game tonight, Dave.
Yeah, especially since the Heat, the season ended a little earlier than we were used to. I'm definitely dialed into the Panthers. I was on a flight. I did a gig in Orlando this past weekend where I was actually performing comedy at a bourbon and barbecue festival up in Oviedo, Florida. And I was flying from Florida all the way back to LA, and the Panthers game was on. So I was like, cool, man, I got something to watch on the flight. And I was so excited. But two things messed it up for me. One, we lost. Two, since I was on the airplane, everything was on a lag. So my friends were texting about the goals 5 minutes before they were happening. I was watching them. I had to switch to basketball eventually. But yeah,
Isn't that the worst? That'll happen when I'm watching at home. If I'm 10 minutes behind because maybe I paused to go, to do whatever. And I got to put my phone on the other side of the room because I know if it buzzes, something's about to happen, you know?
Yeah. But isn't that kind of exciting when you're just you don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. And you're trying to guess when it's going to happen.
Right. Shit's about to happen. I hope it's good shit. It could be bad shit, but I hope it's good shit that's about to happen. Something's going to happen.
Especially with hockey, soccer and hockey and stuff like that, where the scoring is so, far and few between. It's kind of fun to get a little something's going to happen.
What did you make of Pat Riley and all the Jimmy Butler stuff the other day? The national media, they get a hold of those quotes and they think it's crazy, as if Pat Riley doesn't do this at the end of every single year.
Yeah, there's a lot of context that has to be placed within each quote. I thought he said what needed to be said, honestly. It's reassuring as a fan, too, that, if they're going to pay Jimmy all that money, which I certainly hope they do, I hope Jimmy finishes his whole career in Miami. But it's nice to know that they're there's discussions about, hey, man, you got to play, dude. We can't just take all these personal days or miss so much basketball and then make all the money because we're not going to be able to put a good team around you. You see what happens, man. These guys, can't just turn it on and turn it off. It's unrealistic, as superhuman as Jimmy's been in the past. And especially, dude, there's some young bucks coming up all around the league, dude. It's you can't just walk through it as an 8 seed. You got to set yourself up for a favorable path.
Both of our biggest rivals are still in the tournament right now. You got the Celtics, you got the Knicks. Do you have more animosity for one over the other?
I have a very strong opinion about this. Traditionally, of course, the New York fan base and the Knicks and the rivalry, and especially being, our generation's ass, we loathe the Knicks, right? But this kind of happened to me with the Bills too. I really like the team that the Knicks have put together. Like Brunson, I respect him as a player so much. Like last year when we played them in the playoffs, like I loved watching Jalen Brunson play. I really respected his game. And I will tell you whose game I do not respect. It's Tatum and the millennials that they have on the Boston Celtics, where they push off every play, but they never, think that they committed a foul, and they whine about every play. And I just don't. I mean, it's not that they're not talented people. Obviously, they're very talented, but I don't like their game. I don't respect their game. And they've got a great roster this year. I mean, Derek White just absolutely scorched us. And so I do not want Boston to get a ring. I do not want Boston to think that they earned anything. I want them to go through the next 2 decades of just wasting this talent that they've put there. I would much rather see the Knicks go farther than Boston right now.
I am 100% with you. Obviously, I'm always going to hate the Knicks, but I'm living in the now. And right now, I can't stand the Celtics. It would hurt me so much more if the Celtics won the championship than if the Knicks won the championship. I know a lot of Heat fans don't understand that, but this Knicks team, there isn't like when I watched those games at the Garden the other night, I'm watching on TV, like a pretty fucking cool scene.
Yeah.
I'll never say that watching a Celtics home game. This is so cool. I'm so glad for those Boston fans. I would never think that.
Well, and the New York fans have long suffered to get, the Celtics fans, they haven't really won anything other than that 1 year they won with a super team, and they still think that their shit don't stink. They think that they've accomplished all this stuff. It's like, oh man, we've basically gone toe to toe with them the past 4 or 5 years with a roster that wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, I hate the Celtics. All right, we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
A couple nights ago, well, it's Sunday night, I guess. I think it was Sunday night. Yeah. I'm taking my son, my 12-year-old son. I'm walking him up to his bedroom. I'm going to say goodnight to him. And I'm like, hey, he's got a TV in his room. And I'm like, hey, you want to watch some TV together before you go to sleep? And I go, there's a Tom Brady roast on Netflix. You want to watch that? And he goes, I didn't think he was going to say yes. And he goes, yeah. So, all right. So we're in bed and we're watching the Tom Brady roast together. Now, he learned a few things. All right.
Yeah.
We watched a good 30 minutes together. The start of the show. The first thing I got to ask you here. First of all, have you ever been part of a roast? And second of all, are there rules to a roast if you're a comedian?
I mean, the way that it's evolved, supposedly there's no rules. And whether that could now there's no rules in the actual roast. Now that doesn't mean that there can't be rules for you personally, ethically, what you're willing to do individually. But I don't think that the people, once you get to that level, that upper echelon, I don't think anyone who gets chosen for that cares in the slightest what they say or bring up. I'll tell you, I have been a part of it. And what are we? You don't care what language we use on this, nope. Do we? All right, we're good. You can bleep me in post if it's too aggressive, but it's someone else's words, not mine. Actually, that's a lie. It was my words. So I did a roast once. When the Comedy Store was reviving them, and Jeff Ross was a part of it, and Jamar Neighbors and Brian Moses and a bunch of guys at the Comedy Store. They got really, really popular, and every Tuesday people would just pack in, this is maybe 7 or 8 years ago, right? Pack in the Comedy Store to watch the roasts every Tuesday. And a friend of mine, Kelsey Cook, who's a comedian doing very well right now. She's very funny. She calls me up and says, "Hey, would you want to roast battle me?" And I said, "I don't know. It's not really my thing. I'm not really like a roast guy. I'm a lot of my comedy is about like positivity and it's not really in my bones." But she's like, "Well, I just think it would be really fun to roast you because we're friends and whatever." And I was like, "You know what? It'll be a good experience. I'll do it."
Mm-hmm.
I call up some of my buddies who are like well-known roast writers and I ask them advice on writing and whatever. So I show up and I think I'm pretty like ready to go. And she comes up there. Oh, they interview us before you start, and they asked each of us, "Hey, Kelsey, why'd you want to roast Dave? Dave, why'd you want to roast Kelsey?" And she just said, "Oh, we're friends. I thought it'd be fun to, he could take the jokes or whatever." And I said, "Well, I'm mostly a clean comedian, but I thought it would be fun to have an excuse to say the word cunt on stage."
Okay.
When I said that, the room exploded. Right? They were like,
Yeah.
"Oh," and I'm like, "Oh, I got them in the palm of my hand, right? Like this is gonna destroy her." Well, she goes first, and the first joke was like, I was gonna have like a little warm up joke. Her first joke out of the gate is Dave's biological dad left when he was 1 year old, so even as a baby, he was already walking the room. And I was like, "Oh my god." I was like, I hadn't even told my parents got married. My stepdad and my mom got married when I was very young, and my dad adopted me. So as far as anyone knows, as far as I've ever considered, he's my real dad. Like I forget, like I took his name when I was a child, so I don't even tell people about that. So I was like, how did she know that? And I like started crying, like I was like, and I looked at her and I whispered, "How did you know that?" And she looked at me and goes, "I've listened to every podcast you've ever been on." Like she did research for this shit. And so I was just like, Kelsey wears too much makeup. She looks like a pig. Or, like, so she destroyed me. I got annihilated. And that was all I ever needed for the roast. But the Tom Brady roast, they went hard. This was definitely, sometimes I get a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I felt like this. I was okay with some of the stuff here because it was like Tom Brady. First of all, he's done a lot of winning in his life. He could take a little, slaps on the wrist. But like the divorce stuff, it's all been very public, so it's not any joke no one's already made like privately. The Aaron Hernandez stuff, like
That was a little rough.
But also he was a bad dude.
Right.
And the cheating, it was
Oh
kind
no,
of.
I don't feel bad for Aaron Hernandez's legacy that they were talking about him. I feel bad, I guess, for the people that he, I guess, murdered, that it's a joke that's being made. I don't feel bad for Aaron Hernandez, that's for sure.
Well, I think anyone involved with anyone that he murdered probably was okay that he was getting roasted.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, did like, when I turned it on, the first thing, and Kevin Hart's about to get going, I'm thinking to myself, all right, how much are they going to talk about him and Giselle? And it was like,
a lot.
We're doing it right away, and we're doing it all night long.
Yeah. They talked about Giselle a lot. My favorite was when Will Ferrell as Anchorman kept mispronouncing her name. And he was going, Goizella.
Yes. Do you think, was Tom Brady serious when he told Jeffrey Ross to stop saying that shit about Robert Kraft?
I think so. I think it was a little like maybe like half serious, but for him to get up out of his chair and walk over, like he's not doing that as a joke. Like, and he tried to whisper it, but the mics picked it up. I think he was worried they were going to really bag on Kraft about the massage parlor thing.
Isn't that a little bit weird though, that he's more, his former owner is off limits as opposed to the mother of his children? That's a little weird, no?
Well, it's a little bit more of an embarrassing situation, I guess. Depending on, well, they did go pretty hard on Giselle and the karate instructor or whatever. That was pretty disrespectful. But I don't know. Maybe he just anticipated the Gazelle thing, and they like had to talk. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. they might have, the only way they got Robert Kraft there was maybe to tell him that no one was going to make those jokes or something, you know?
Now, you
That's
know who I thought
ballsy
was
that
great?
Robert Kraft showed up. It was there, by the way.
Yeah. You know who was great was Drew Bledsoe. He was funny.
Drew Bledsoe and Edelman both like really held their own as non-comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were awesome. Like you're never going to beat the self-deprecating opportunity for Drew Bledsoe to go up there and deliver the jokes pretty well, man.
Why would Tom Brady agree to do it? You know, like Kevin Hart in the beginning, maybe the part that I laughed the hardest was when Kevin Hart is making, like, we're realizing, oh, it's going to be like this. And Kevin Hart's making the jokes and he starts hysterically laughing. He goes, why would you do this? You're such an idiot. Why would you do this?
Yeah.
Like, but why would he do this, Tom Brady?
I mean, I don't think you could say money, right? He doesn't need much more of that. I don't know, man. I mean, I think it paid off. If he's comfortable enough to take the shots, it's a fun experience. I mean, everyone's talking about it. It's one of the most watched things on Netflix right now. You know, I think when you're that kind of person too, all of that gets translated into you being celebrated in your brain. You know, so I don't know if it really bothers him like getting roasted. It's nothing you haven't heard before when you're a public figure like that. You know.
Who was I think it was Jeffrey Ross that said it, where he told Dana, good to see Dana White here. You're like the Michael Vick of humans.
Yeah. There was another. And then the other good Dana White joke was Andrew Scholes said, oh, that's why Dana here. He's going to teach you how to fuck a Brazilian out of half his purse. Yep. That's a pretty good joke.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, dude, I thought that, Drew Bledsoe, to your point, did really well. And then I heard that he went and hung out at the Comedy Store that night for like 2 hours. And they were doing a show there that he was part of the panel and was just really generous with his time. And so supposedly he really leaned into this opportunity to be a part of all this.
That's cool. Yeah, the thing I was most impressed about Brady was athletes are used to everyone kissing their ass and being the center of positive attention their whole life. And to sit there and have everybody bust on you like that, athletes aren't used to that. Like, Dave, an NBA player is not sitting there and taking that abuse. They're the most sensitive bunch you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was pretty impressive that Brady was willing to do it.
Yeah, no, totally, man. And it was a historic roast too, because it was in the Forum. It was sold out. It was live, which I don't know if that's never been done. And I think that that's part of the reason why it was such a great one too. There was probably less interruption with like TV stuff, because normally when they're just recording them, I'm sure they're like resetting and whatever. You know, the audience gets tired. They've been there longer than you think they've been there. But the fact that it was live too, I think that the comics were able to push the envelope, because it's not like anything got cut out. Like anything they said was left in, which made it even funnier. And you know, you just saw Kevin Hart was like so off the cuff, you know. It wasn't as buttoned up as they normally would be hosting. Like he kept breaking character and just looking at him and being like, "Why'd you do this?" Like you were saying, you know. I thought the off the cuff stuff was great, man. Everyone did a great job.
Whose comedy are we really enjoying these days? Who do I need to make sure that I'm checking out?
Well, I mean, you saw Nikki Glazer absolutely crush it.
I had Nikki Glazer in studio with me about 8 or 9 years ago, like right before she got really big. So that was kind of cool. Like I had her when she was younger and not as known. I had her in studio. I went to see her at the Improv. She's fantastic, but as long as it's your style, she's got to be the raunchiest out there right now. Incredibly raunchy.
Well, I'll tell you. So if you're looking for a recommendation, I know you're already a Brad Williams fan, and Brad Williams is killing it. He's working theaters right now and just doing so well. But his good buddy, Adam Ray, is absolutely crushing it right now, man. Adam's so funny. He's such a good stand-up, but he also just puts out great content. He does this show where he dresses up like Dr. Phil, and like in a very, like, you know, the whole bald cap and fake mustache. Like he looks like Dr. Phil when he gets on. And so he hosts a live talk show where he has comics as a guest and celebrities, and just, you know, really, it's a ridiculous character. You know, it's just a ridiculous character, and he's an unhinged Dr. Phil. Let's put it that way, and it's really funny. But if you're not following him already, follow him and go see his stand up. He's really crushing it right now.
And tell everybody again where they can find you and, of course, everything you got going on.
Yep, Dave W Comedy on Instagram and on X. And I'm going to be on the road a ton coming up. This weekend, I'm in Louisiana, Lafayette, and New Orleans. I'll be in both those cities. I'm going to be at a barbecue festival and doing shows in Raleigh in a few months. I'm going to be in Northern California a bunch. I'm going to be in Austin, Texas in a few weeks. So I'm all over the place. DaveWilliamsonComedy.com for my schedule. And also, if you want to buy some all-purpose seasoning and rub.
Yes. Great job, Dave. Always good catching up, man. I hope to see you again soon.
Heck yeah, brother. Great to see you, Zaz.